All right, we're a little late. We had some technical difficulties, but we are back for another episode of Automotivated, and I'm here with my favorite co-host, John Burkhauser. How are you doing
Wow,
today?
really? I'm your favorite. I think you
Of
just say that
course
to
you
all
are.
your co-hosts.
Don't get me wrong, I love all of our guests, but nothing feels quite at home than when you and I get together and explore these ideas on behalf of all of our customers here at Bolt On Technology and all of our friends in the automotive industry.
Oh, I appreciate that, and I appreciate what we're trying to do here, Shayna. So I think that's really big. But yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it. I mean, so our topic today, it's something that we've talked about before. It's something that we've seen shift not only in the automotive industry, but really any type of business, whether it be retail specifically or just business relationships, is how much our interactions with customers have changed. And I feel that specifically within a local community based business, local community, those relationships are really key. And some of the things that we are used to doing are no longer acceptable in a COVID environment. But as we
Mhm.
move out of it, what we want to talk about are some of the things to expect to really make sure that your relationships are strong, your customer interaction is appropriate, and you're still able to build those strong long-term relationships with your clients as they feel comfortable coming back into your shop. I mean, I feel like we're always coming back to COVID. It's been a year now. We're going on a year, which is wild.
And I know that people like me are really getting tired of hearing about it, but also
Hmm.
the flip side is that noise, that background noise has been there so long that I think we don't hear it anymore. And that's a concerning point.
Hmm.
And especially with the topic we're talking about, we have to think about how we need to approach our customers and remember it's still there.
Absolutely. And I'm going to say it. You can plug your ears for it because I know you and I both hate it. The new normal. So, I mean, when we talk about it, again, I go back to local businesses because these are people in your community. These are people that you have good relationships with, people that you see just at different businesses in your
Mm-hmm.
community or school events or family events, and you're used to going into a shop, shaking someone's hand, maybe giving a hug, having a conversation where you're not worried about proximity. And a lot of those things, while we once may have taken for granted, are now very much top of mind because there's always that initial reaction, especially, for, and it's going to be different in every kind of region because every region's in different kind of stages of a post-COVID environment. But there is that initial reaction. What's your level of comfort? What's my level of comfort? What is the acceptable way to interact in person because we're not used to it anymore. We're used to this type of communication now. And when it comes to bolt-on technology, we thrive in a digital space. And a lot of our tools and a lot of our technology has really helped shops throughout the pandemic. However, we also acknowledge that the relationships, the trust, the conversations are a top priority for our shops. So while we have tools to help people advance in a digital atmosphere, it's not to replace the relationships that are
Mm-hmm.
meant to be built in the shop. So what are some of your suggestions as people are starting to see people come back into their shops a little bit more and venture out of their homes and get into this new normal?
Well, I think it's really important to remember that we have to do this still.
Mhm.
The virus is still out there, it's all around us. And though we're not locked down like we were about a year ago and stuff like that, we still need to take precautions and we need to plant that in our heads.
Mhm.
Because
Mhm.
I walk into places and when I show up, people quick pull their mask on and stuff like that. You know, you got to be prepared, and
Mhm.
just because you just pulled it up, what about all the breathing and sneezing you just did before I got there?
Mhm.
The other thing to keep in mind too when we're talking about the mask is the lack of facial communication. I
Yes.
know that when I walk around, and I see people, I like to smile back at them, and you get a smile on. Well, now how can you do it?
You gotta
So I
look at
think
the
that's
eyes, you gotta smile with the eyes, JB.
But the thing is people that don't know you don't know that you're smiling. So some of your
Absolutely.
customers are going to be that way. So
That's
keep
that's
that
a
in
great
mind.
point.
That's really big. But as you said, the digital technology can actually keep us separate, but I think in a way it can bring us together.
Mhm.
And one of the examples is, shops aren't letting people sit in their waiting rooms. Shops aren't doing waiters. There's all sorts of changes, and you're still doing them. And you know what? Some of them are pretty cool because now you don't have the craziness of people all waiting. And is it done yet? Is it done yet? Is it done yet? But
Yep.
the flip side of this, what I like to share is that our digital technology on the tablet, you can still do a meet and greet.
Yep.
All right. And what do I mean by that? Well, a customer pulls in the lot, I can grab my tablet and walk out. And if I already know who they are, I can look them up. But if I don't, I can scan the license plate and identify them if they're one of my customers. And now with that 6 foot different distance, I'm meeting them out by the car, which is a whole new approach to
Mhm.
writing up a customer. And
Mhm.
I can, if they already have an appointment, I can pull that up and just go over the details with them while they're there. If they just walked in, I can go over all the details. We can walk around the car, and again, still maintaining our distance, but having a relationship during write up that we've never had before.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I think about that. And one of the other points about the tablet too is that you can actually get the customer to sign on it. And the nice part about that is the tablet's very easy to clean
Yes.
because it's pretty smooth surface and whatnot. So a quick wipe down, lay it on the hood of the car, and the customer comes along and signs with their finger. Boom, interaction done. They never had to come in the building, et cetera, et cetera. Now, before people start throwing raw fruit, I know that the weather's not always going to be conducive.
Sure.
But what I'm trying to say to you is that on the days that they are, this is a whole different approach and builds a whole new relationship with your customer that you don't have to do the touchy touch.
And you know what? I think another big thing to acknowledge, there's always going to be pushback. We hear it from our customers, we hear it just from people in the automotive industry. I don't have time to go out to the car. I don't have time to do this.
Mm-hmm.
It's not important. It doesn't matter. We have talked about this before of what the driving patterns are now that, we've been through quarantine, people are still remote. Driving patterns aren't going to be go back to normal, I heard, until 2023, right? So there's not going to be as many people on the road. There's not going to be as much driving happening as there once was. And this isn't for everyone, and there's going to
Mm-hmm.
be a lot of things that you need to do to take more market share in your area so that way you have more vehicles coming into your shop. But now is the time to set new best practices because you do have more time than you typically would have. And this is a transition that your shop needs to make in order to strengthen those relationships, make people feel comfortable. And ultimately, again, we're talking about stealing market share here. Why are they going to come to your shop compared to, Joe's shop down the road? It's those little things that people really acknowledge, and it makes them talk about it to their friends, and it makes them excited to come back to your shop rather than, maybe just price hunting or convenience. Those are the things that really set your shop apart. And now more than ever, knowing that driving behaviors have changed and it puts a lot of shops at a disadvantage compared to what they're used to, these are the things that are going to help you stay ahead of the game.
And that's definitely true, Shayna. The other thing to add to it, and you kind of hinted on it, now you have a reason to tell your customers not to all show up at once and have that morning group up.
Mhm.
And, for example, if you go to a doctor right now, you might find out it's 3 months before you get in because why? They don't have people in a waiting room. They have everybody spread out. So
Mhm.
everybody's doing this. It's time for shops to start setting appointment times for their customers
Mhm.
and having that relationship. Yeah, you can walk out to the vehicle and do this walk right up. But if you have customers coming in on time when you want them, and no matter what method you're using, getting them in and out so that they don't contaminate or get contaminated, that's a whole new approach for your shop too.
Mhm.
So
Absolutely.
I think people are going to see that if you say your appointment's at 9 o'clock and they show up and they're out the door at 9:10, that they're going to be like, wow, this is the greatest experience I've had in automotive getting repairs and whatnot, because now I can depend on getting to where I need to be.
Mhm.
So that
Absolutely.
I believe in a little nutshell being able to enforce that is going to make a difference and carry on between this whole situation.
Absolutely. And I think at the end of the day, it's up to your shop, right? We can give you all of these tips. We can tell you why it's important. It's going to take your shop to dedicate yourself to changing your practices.
Mm-hmm.
We're not saying it's easy. We're not saying, training your team to do things new is going to happen overnight. It takes discipline and it takes commitment. And if you're able to provide both of those things, you will see long-term effects for your shop that are going to make you more successful across the road. But at the end of the day, we can tell you all these tips. It's really up to you to implement, and implementation and execution of it is always the hardest part.
And also along with those lines, Shana, is that your shop, not all this stuff may apply.
Mm-hmm.
And you may have reasons for doing things the way you do, and that's it. But I guess what the most important thing we want to share with anybody watching is that reevaluate what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
We may give you an idea that works for you, but also just reevaluate. I can't even say that.
You said automotivated, right? So it has to be a different word.
But the point being here is we're not here to offend anybody, but we just want you to think and look at things and see how they can be changed. And this is a situation that helps you change because everybody's been forced to change.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I think that brings up a good point. We want to know what your shop is doing to bring back this customer interaction. What has changed? What are you looking to implement? What's been successful for you? Because JB, I completely agree with you. These are our recommendations. These are things that we've seen be successful for shops, but it's not the only way. And some of these will work for your shop, some of these won't. So we'd love to hear from all of the shops of what it is that you're doing, what's worked, what hasn't worked. Because at the end of the day, this is an industry issue that's happening, right? Like the pandemic has really affected our industry as a whole, and it's going to take, I'm a big fan of high tide rises all. So for all of us to share all of our ideas, for all of us to explore new ways to combat some of the issues that have come up with the pandemic, this is how our industry is going to be stronger together and how we're going to put our best foot forward as vehicles start to get back on the road, as people get back into normal driving habits. So make sure you comment below. We want to hear what's going on with your shop. We want to promote your shops, especially if you're doing well. It's something that we're excited to be able to interact with everybody with. So in the meantime,
sure that you're promoted. Sorry, you just kind of froze up there for a little bit, so I just jumped in. But not only promoting your shop if you're successful, but letting you see how successful shops get promoted.
There you go. And there you have it. And this is why we're automotivated. Are you automotivated, JB?
Oh gosh, I am automotivated.
We're gonna get this opening and outro in eventually, and we've done well. We've said it right both times today, so check. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us again for another episode of Automotivated. We will be back in 2 weeks with a special guest and a new topic. But in the meantime, drop your comments below. We want to hear how your shop's doing. JB, as always, such a pleasure to see you. Thank you for joining us. And we're Automotivated. We hope you are too.
Yes. Thank you. Bye-bye.